close your eyes. Something is coming to get them.
The confrontation.
And the hysteria continues.
Oh, indeed it does. Welcome back to The Hysteria Continues, episode 172. And this time we have high-class thrills. No, we don't. We're covering Shadows Run Black, the Kevin Costner cameo appearing slasher from ostensibly 1984, but in fact was filmed in 1981, as we'll talk about a little bit later. But it is, it's a film I haven't seen for a long time, and I thought it would be a good idea to cover. And whether or not I regret that is, we will see a little bit later on. But before we get on to that, let's see how we're all doing. It's been a little while since we've recorded. So, Erik, you've been to sunny climes, haven't you?
I have been to sunny climes. I've been out of town for a long time. I was in the UK, then I was in Portugal, then I was back in the UK, then back to Dublin, then I was down south of Ireland for the weekend, and now I'm back to normal. Normal service has resumed. But yes, Portugal was very, very sunny. And you were away as well yourself, Justin, in somewhere sunny as well as where you live.
I was in Australia.
Fair
dinkum, exactly. The home of a number of slasher movies.
And who's our favourite Australian, Joseph? It has to be Alan Dale.
Yeah, exactly. I'm envious of you two because, where you live, you get to easily visit all these exotic locations like Ireland and the UK and, and that kind of stuff. But I don't know, around me and Joseph, there's not anything that exotic.
Well, I wouldn't say Ireland or the UK were particularly exotic. And it did take me 28 hours to get back from Australia, so that wasn't really on my doorstep.
But London has that big clock. What's it called?
Big Ben.
Yes. Don't you think that's cool, Justin?
That's awesome, Justin.
It's cool Britannia.
I had a very grueling 2.5-hour flight back from Portugal to Manchester.
Oh, you poor thing. Thing. So
I was jet lagged for days after it.
Well, I had for like 14 hours of a small child kicking me on the back of the seat. So
how did you say anything to him?
No, I just put my headphones on and tried to go to sleep. Well, it wasn't the whole time, but it was. And they kept on going, "Mummy, mummy, mummy," like that, and I was thinking, for fuck's sake. I thought maybe I was stuck behind Chucky, stuck in front of Chucky or something.
It sounds like Michael from Burial Ground.
Yes.
Did he say, "This airplane seat smells of death"?
No, but it could have well have been. It's a good job I didn't turn around, wasn't it? It's probably something horrific at 35,000 feet. But anyway, how are you, Nathan?
Oh, I'm really good.
Yeah, well, that's good.
It's been a good little month. My birthday was September 14th, so, that was a nice time. And then I get to go on vacation this upcoming weekend, so
fantastic.
I'm quite enjoying it.
It's going
to be a cabin in the woods.
Oh, is it?
Scary.
Oh.
Sigourney Weaver lives underneath that.
Yep, she does. Although I don't think me and Wes are exactly what they're looking for in a particular slasher movie sequence. They need...
Well, you stoner?
Yeah, but that's it. Exactly. So are they going to have a slasher with two stoners? Where's the heroin?
So you're going to be in a cabin. Are you going to get wood, Nathan, for the burner?
Sure. Yeah, wood for the fire. I'm sure that's what you meant.
Of course, that's what I meant. But hopefully, you come back alive. We'd be very sad if someone.
I hope so.
Well, no, we won't.
Have a nice big one.
Yes, we won't say where you're going because just in case any crazed fan decides to get crashed the party.
I've got stalker fans that want to stalk me and kill me.
So you could dress up as Lauren Bacall from The Fan.
Yes, The Fan. I'll be very classy. She's very classy.
Yes, although I imagine you'd probably quite enjoy Michael Bain come up from behind you and give you one.
Yeah.
I am as pure as the driven snow. Sort of.
So, but anyway, and Joseph, how are you? Are we still doing Queen Kong?
It means our podcast will pista bring like butter.
Okay.
Oh my God, Justin, did you know that she's the Queenie for your weenie?
I did indeed, yes. And
you picked that movie, and you're going to live to regret it because I sing that song all the time.
Well,
Sing it
I think Wes is going to live to regret it, not us.
She's the genie who ain't teeny. She's the Queenie for my weenie. When I feel mighty spunky, I want to do it with my hunky monkey. I could sing the whole thing, but I'm going to leave it at that.
Oh, you tantalize us with this.
Yeah.
I know. It just gives you just enough to want more.
Yeah.
Well, if you're tantalised by that and you're not a Patreon supporter, then what other possible incentive could you possibly have to join up than hearing Nathan's dulcet tones?
Yeah.
And if you sign up tonight, Nathan will send you a WAV file of him singing the entire song.
Exactly.
I don't know how to do a WAV file.
Or an MP3. You know how to do sound files now, don't you?
No. Well, I don't know how to record like me. I know how to record off of the computer.
We could set something up, couldn't
I'm
we?
learning. I'm getting there.
Well, we are going to be covering Shadows Run Black a little bit later on, but as it's been quite a while since we recorded, I'm sure we've got lots to talk about, haven't we? So, recently seen, Erik, I know you're full to the brim.
I've seen so many films. Well, because I was away for almost 4 weeks, I've seen 2 films. One is Shadows Run Black, and the other is I can't mention because we've just done a commentary track and I don't think it has been announced yet. So they are my 2 recently seen.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. Nathan.
Did you like them both? Oh, we'll find out.
We'll find out.
I kind of liked one.
Oh, okay. Well, let's find out a little bit later which one that might be. But Nathan, I think you've seen the film of the moment, haven't you?
Yes, I went to the theater yesterday and I watched Hellfest, about the group of teenagers at the horror fest. It's sort of like a big haunted house extravaganza, just a big festival. And there's a killer there who starts hunting them down and killing them off one by one in typical wonderful slasher movie fashion. It was really good. I thought it was a lot of fun. It's not anything original, and it's not it's not the next Halloween. I would say go in with your expectations just to see a popcorn slasher flick, and I think you'll enjoy it. It's got a likable final girl. I was a little surprised at some of the deaths, and I thought they built suspense very well. And there's a really good death scene involving somebody's eyeball, which, ouch, that really hurt. And the ending, I actually did not expect this to go where it did in the very end. I mean, it wasn't anything super crazy, but it was just an interesting way to end the film, I should say. And when I watched it, I was like, I kind of dig that. So I would definitely recommend it. Great setting, a good killer. He doesn't quip little one-liners. He's just very silent through the whole thing. And there's a really good moment in it, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but there's just a good moment where one girl is texting a friend in the bathroom, and the friend is not supposed to be anywhere near her at the moment, but little does she realize that the killer has the phone, and she starts hearing her text the friend's phone in the bathroom next to her. And I thought, oh, that's pretty creepy. So, yeah, very recommended.
Okay, I haven't. It's playing near me, but it's in Spanish, so I'm not sure if I'm going to see it yet. But Joseph, you've not seen it yet, have you?
No, I have not. Although someone did spoil how it ended for me, so I'm a little irritated. But I am looking forward to seeing it.
Why do people spoil it? I don't understand that.
I don't know.
That's just rude.
Was it somebody you know, or did you just accidentally see it online?
I accidentally saw it online.
Oh.
That is annoying.
I thought somebody you knew was just like, oh, hey, here's how it ends.
No, I don't know anyone that rude.
Okay, well, that's good. Well, and it's funny because I avoid movies if I don't watch them right away. I avoid, YouTube clips, anything about it, because I looked at a clip for Hellfest earlier this morning, and right underneath it, somebody is just blabbing about the death scenes and the ending and everything, and they're obviously just doing it to ruin it for people. Like, that is not cool.
Not cool. What else have you
Very
seen, Nathan? Anything else?
I watched The Summer of '84, and I really enjoyed it. It's became kind of the talk of the horror community as of late. It's set in the '80s, and it's like this group of kids, and there's a neighbor who's a cop, and there's a serial killer in the area, and they think that the cop might be the serial killer, and just a lot of crazy stuff happens. And I don't want to say too much, because I think that it's best for anybody seeing this to go in fresh, like without knowing hardly anything about it, except that it's a great coming of age horror film. And by the time it gets to the ending, my jaw hit the floor, because I was just like, I cannot believe they went there with some stuff that happened. So highly recommended.
Cool. Did we talk about that on the last episode? I think we might have done.
Did we? Because I asked Joe, and he didn't seem to remember that we did.
Okay.
But it's been so long since we recorded.
It has. I've seen it. I can't remember if we did talk about it, but I enjoyed it. I thought the period detail was really good. I think it is some of the criticism I've seen from people is that the tonally it shifts towards the end of the movie, and I didn't hate that. I thought that was interesting, but I know it irked some people. It kind of goes places where something like Stranger Things wouldn't, I kind of guess.
I could see that.
Yeah, that's it's one of the things I liked about this film is Stranger Things, they kind of play on that nostalgia of what it was like to be a kid in the early 80s, whereas this film it has the audacity to say, hey, look, this is what it's like to be in the 80s, but hey, wouldn't it be just so cruel if we just took this away from these kids? So there's a definite kind of suspense mechanism at play there. I really loved Summer of '84. I was on the edge of my seat. I was never bored, and like Nathan said, that ending that's a jaw dropper.
Yeah, because I can understand why some people think that kind of tonal shift where it goes perhaps a few shades darker, but I kind of appreciate the fact that it kind of didn't stick to that kind of sort of candy floss 80s-ness. It's kind of like you wouldn't make a film about, say, like John Wayne Gacy, would you, and make it kind of a feel-good movie. So,
right.
So I can see what they did, and I think it was interesting. So, it's interesting. It'd be interesting if you get to see it, and see what you think. But it satisfied me on both levels as a good nostalgia piece, but also did something a little bit different as well. So, Erik, have you seen it?
Not yet, no, but I am intrigued.
Okay.
I was just looking on my phone here to see if I could see a release date for Hellfest for the UK and Ireland, and I just don't see it on the horizon at all.
Oh, really?
Well, unfortunately, it sounds like it's bombing at the box office, which means I don't think it's going to be out at the theaters very long.
Well, I did see that it was. I read some box office, like the numbers.com, whatever it is, and they said that it only cost something like $5 or $6 million to make. So they reckoned it would make its money back really
definitely.
Quickly. So it won't. I don't think it's. I think it made $2 million in its opening weekend or something. Which isn't fantastic, but it's not. It will make its money back. It will be profitable. So. So I don't think it's not going to be the second coming of slasher movies that some people were hoping. I think maybe that's going to be reserved for Halloween later this month. So, but we shall see. But
just look at it this way: we've with Halloween coming out and Hellfest out now, and then the Strangers earlier this year. I mean, we've had 3 slasher movies at the cinemas this year. That's pretty good.
Yeah, definitely. And also now it looks like with Friday the 13th, with Victor Miller's won part of his court case against Sean Cunningham, which looks like it may lead to some kind of conciliation or some kind of deal or something, which may mean that they keep on expecting Halloween's going to be like a big blockbuster and make lots of money, which I reckon it probably will do. So it could be the impetus, and the irony would be that if it did cause another Friday the 13th to go into production, it's kind of historical precedent to that. But we'll see.
Our friend Amanda Reyes has hailed Halloween as her film of the year so far.
Yeah,
and she's also seen the new Suspiria, which she said was terrific, but is a very much in name only sequel. She said if it hadn't been called Suspiria, you wouldn't know there was any connection.
She also said that it seemed more her like a drama with some horror elements rather than it being a straight-on horror film.
I'm not sure it's my cup of tea.
It feels like they're going the Hereditary or the Witch route with this.
That is my recently seen. I saw Hereditary, I think, since we last recorded, which I quite liked. I think it's a bit long, and it has some very, very outstanding horror moments. But it's very much cut from the same cloth as things like The Witch and Babadook. Babadook I hated, which I liked in parts, but I found the language that they use in it, the stilted English a bit, old-fashioned English a bit hard to penetrate. Ooh, or misses. But of the 3, Hereditary was definitely my favourite, and there are some really good standout horror moments in it. I would give it a recommendation. It's overrated to be sure, from my perspective, but I did enjoy it. Has anyone else seen it since?
No.
Not yet.
I have seen it, yeah. And I liked it, but I saw a really bad version of it, should I say. So I need to see a proper version of it.
The local cinema, was it?
Yes, it was a very, very poor presentation. But I need to see a proper. I liked it. I thought it was interesting. But again, I think it's sometimes with those, when it comes up with that's so hyped that it sometimes can fail to sort of live up to expectations. I mean, I think with Suspiria, I think it's interesting because I like the director. I liked some of his other films, but he seems a bit of a strange choice. But the thing that really concerned me more than anything was, and I trust Amanda's taste and reviews implicitly. I mean, she's great. She's very she's a great critic. But the fact is it's not scary, and I'm thinking, well, it's all very well doing something different and new, and I can understand he didn't want to make a sort of a really saturated kind of homage to the original Suspiria. So he's made it very kind of brown and beige and muted colours. But it's kind of the idea of making a horror movie that's not scary or even attempting to be scary. It's just apparently it's quite gory, but and I do think Suspiria is quite a scary movie. And you're making a film about witches and arcane stuff and all that kind of stuff. You need to make it scary, and if you don't do that, then I can't really see the point. But I haven't seen it yet, so I reserve judgment because I do like his other movies.
Who is the director? Remind me.
Luca something, I can't remember. Italian director, isn't he?
What did he make?
He did Call Me By Your Name and the remake of The Swimming Pool.
All right.
With Tilda Swinton was in that, and Ralph Fiennes. It was a remake of the Alan Delane, Romney Schneider movie. Which is kind of, but they're kind of art housey films, which is why I think he was perhaps a strange choice for a remake of Suspiria. But having said that, it could have been. I kind of felt I kind of got the vibe from what I've seen of it. It's going to be like a slightly like Neon Demon, but not so neon. But I might be wrong. But also it's kind of, isn't it like 2.5 hours long or something? And again, you just don't need to make films, certainly horror films, that long. I think it's too long. You can't keep up that suspense and fear level for that amount of time. Although I certainly haven't seen a film that manages that, but that doesn't sound like what he's going for. So I'm still intrigued to see it. I saw Alan Bryce, I think, from Dark Side. I saw his review. He saw it recently. He said it was pants, so not very good. But again, I shall reserve judgment. So Nathan, is that you done, or have you seen anything else?
No, that's about it.
Okay, right. Well, thank you. Joseph, how about you?
I watched the second season of American Vandal, and I know Nathan has seen this, and I'm not sure if you or Eric have seen either season, but they're on Netflix. I highly recommend this show. It takes some really childish subject matter and creates what is essentially just a very good and involving mystery documentary feel, and it's surprisingly deep, like on an emotional level as well. I mean, the first season is about a vandal who spray paints dicks on school property, and the second season is someone is creating like these pranks with like how can I say this, shit bombs, just bombs made out of human feces. And they're trying to figure out who's doing it. So they're both whodunits, and I didn't guess who was behind it in either season. It's neat how they take this childish humor and create this really absorbing mystery surrounding it. I mean, I highly recommend this show. It's on Netflix, called American Vandal. Season 2 was just dropped. Nathan, you saw it, didn't you?
Yes, it's really good. I loved both seasons equally. Like Joseph said, it's kind of funny. It starts out just being a satire of like true crime documentary shows, and that's basically what it is. But it gets you so involved in it, and they build up suspense, and then you stop for a minute and think, wait a minute, this is about somebody putting laxatives in like lemonade. Like, why is this so suspenseful to me? But that's just the brilliance of the people that came up with it. They just did a really good job of creating this intriguing mystery and make you wonder, what's going on. And there's so many twists and turns.
I love how difficult it is to pinpoint who's the identity of each vandal in each season.
And the thing is, it's not a cheat.
Very well done.
Neither one.
Neither
whodunit is a cheat.
No.
I've seen the original one. I saw the first season. Yeah, I saw the first season, which I enjoyed. Yeah. I've got Netflix. I don't know if it's because I've got Spanish Netflix. It's a bit like Spanish supermarket. So I'm not sure if it's out here yet.
So it's only filled with anal paprika.
Yes.
Understand.
What?
It's filled with anal paprika.
Ooh, that sounds painful. So anything else, Joseph?
Yes, I saw The Predator, which I had been looking forward to for a long time because this is a Predator film written by Shane Black, who was in the original Predator, and I think he's a fantastic writer. He does that kind of that macho guy dialogue very well. He kind of makes fun of it, lampoons it a little bit. But The Predator was not really what I was expecting. I was expecting a completely different film. That's not to say I didn't enjoy it, but this movie is so ridiculous. The plot is just so absurd. I can't even spoil it because it's just so nonsensical. But having said that, it's not the movie I thought it was going to be. It's completely, almost. I'd just call it a bad movie done really well. I enjoyed it. Not the best Predator film by a long shot, but totally kind of unexpected in the way I enjoyed it. So thumbs up for me.
Cool. I've not seen. I know it's out the cinema here at the moment, so I've not seen that. But I've heard it's. Didn't it get a massive amount of studio interference? Wasn't it kind of? Yeah,
there were some reshoots, things like that. Although it seems to have done fairly well. I know it did fairly well in its opening weekend. So there's that.
Okay.
For a studio interfered film, it's done fairly well.
Okay, well, it's interesting. Well, not interesting, but it's how they kind of remake or do a kind of a brand new installment to Predator series every 5 years or so, don't they? At the moment, because there was an Adrian Brody one, wasn't it? Only 5 years
that was
later.
2010. Predators. That one was I actually really liked that one a lot. Didn't care for the Alien versus Predator films, and I enjoy the first two Predator films. So this is a pretty good continuation of those. The non-Alien versus Predator kind of canon here. Kind of absurd, but if you can get past the absurdities, it's a lot of fun. Quick movie, very short film.
Cool. Okay, excellent. Have you seen that, Nathan or Eric?
No, it opened when I was away on my holidays. I probably won't catch it now. I'll probably be gone from cinemas by the time I get around to it. I would like to see it, though, because I am, like Joseph, I'm a fan of the Predator series. Even the first Alien versus Predator I find quite watchable. Second one, less so. Did you say this was better than Predators or worse?
No, Predators takes itself a little more seriously, and I think it's honestly, I think it's a little more tightly focused. This one's just kind of all over the map, but I think that's why it works so well, because it's just so absurd. It's definitely not.
Sorry, is it slashery enough for us to cover on the Hysteria Continues?
Possibly more Patreon-ish, but it's definitely got those moments in it.
Yeah, excellent. Well, it's what I would like to see. Yes.
Cool. Okay. Anything else, Joseph?
It seems like there are a few more, but I honestly just can't remember. So that's it for this week.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Was a few that I've seen recently kind of popped up on pay-per-view here. Where it was the how there's always, well, not always, but when there's like a big movie, there's quite often another one that's exactly the same in production. And in this case, on a much smaller scale, there was obviously Hellfest, but there's also Bloodfest. Which because I haven't seen Hellfest, but Bloodfest is not exactly similar, but it kind of similar. The idea that a big kind of fun fair type thing, or in this case, it's more of like a Jurassic Park horror Jurassic Park kind of thing without dinosaurs. In so much that you kind of go into this place and you've got like zombie world, vampire world, slasher world, torture world kind of thing, and they open up for this, and this group of teenagers go in. And basically they all get trapped in there, and all the worlds kind of come to life. It's almost like a Westworld kind of thing. A bit of a mashup. It's a bit silly, I kind of guess. It's it's kind of more of a comedy horror thing. I enjoyed it. It's fun. It's a fun little movie. Quite high production value, so I think it cost a pretty penny. And but you have like some slashers, but then you also have zombies and you have vampires, and so it kind of throws lots of things into the mix. So it's a very it's not like a pure slasher like Hellfest. Any of you guys seen that?
No.
Okay. Well, there are a couple of other ones I'll quickly mention. The other one was Mandy, which not the Barry Manilow song, but the new Nicolas Cage movie, which is quite stupendous. Really, actually, it's very difficult to describe. It's an 80s throwback, but it's like an art house movie, but with Nicolas Cage going nutsoids. It's if you can imagine like Neon Demon sort of put through an 80s blender with a kind of revenge movie, and it's just completely bonkers, but quite hypnotic. Beautiful to look at, completely crazy, batshit crazy, the whole thing. Nicolas Cage goes from completely underplaying it at the beginning of the movie, and then it turns into a revenge, kind of like a Kill Bill almost thing, but like Kill Bill on acid kind of thing. And he goes after like a group of Jesus freaks and kills them off one by one, and then he just completely batshit crazy. So it's kind of a real experience. I wish I'd seen it on the big screen actually, because it's over 2 hours long, and it kind of goes completely against what I said about Suspiria being over long. But I thought it was it was quite remarkable. Really, it's quite a not for everyone, I don't think, but I thought it was yeah, really kind of interesting and visually stunning. And Nicolas Cage is always good for a giggle. So, seen that or heard of it?
That's one that's on my to watch list. I'm looking forward to it.
I don't think it's for everyone, but I thought it was kind of hypnotic. I think it's a kind of film that I'm not casting aspersions, Nathan, but if you partaked in some herb, I imagine it'd be the kind of film that would be quite. It would make a lot of sense.
Oh,
I had to do that.
It might have made me interesting.
Yes,
I had to do that for the movie we're covering today, actually.
Oh right, well, okay, well, fair enough. But what about you, Eric? Have you heard of it?
I have heard of it, yeah, and I saw Meep, I think, reviewed it as well. I can't remember what he said, but he did mention that it was a bit batshit crazy. It opens here in a fortnight, so it's one I'm definitely going to try and seek out, especially if you said it might be worth seeing it on the big screen.
Well, I think it's either kind of maybe a film that really annoy you. I don't know, but it starts off, the whole first half an hour is very slow and very trippy. And then it just goes more and more batshit crazy as it goes, and there's
Looking at the poster here, and it's very pink,
very
neon looking.
Yeah, it's a very 80s throwback, but like 80s throwback through a very strange lens. But I thought it was I thought it was. I had never seen anything quite like it, put it that way. So, the last film I saw was a film that's a few years old, and it was on Amazon Prime, and I'd seen some kind of chatter about it, and it seems to be getting louder. And I thought, well, I'd check it out, and it's a found footage movie, and obviously, found footage. I don't hate found footage movies. I think when they can work really, really well. And this is one that I'd seen on Amazon Prime, but there's so many on Amazon Prime. They all look exactly the same. And I've seen various people mention it, so I thought I'd give it a whirl. And it was Hell House LLC, which is...
David Millay, BTK, was raving about that movie. He said it's really well done.
Yeah, it was actually David or Dave and Angela, I think, were talking. That's maybe where I saw it. So I looked at the IMDb reviews, and lots of people were raving about it, and I thought, well, I'll give it a go. I do like a bit of found footage now and again. I think you kind of oversaturated the market, but it is really, really well done. It kind of reminded me a bit of the Poughkeepsie tapes a little bit, but not as brutal as that. But it's quite scary, and it's kind of basically set in a haunted house attraction where people, they kind of the haunted houses they've set up for Halloween, and you go through and you walk around and people jump out of you and all those kind of things. So, and it's sort of set in this haunted house where it's really well done, because it starts at the beginning, and it's kind of done as a documentary almost, and people like the footage of people going in the house, and there's this panic and people running out and there's people running away from the cellar, and you don't really find out what's going on until this woman turns up and says she was there and she'd helped set the place up, and they had all these tapes. They were making a documentary about setting the place up, and you see it kind of building up to that point. So it's kind of really, really well done. It reminded me of Hereditary in bits and pieces, and but there's a great kind of not central character, but there's all these mannequins everywhere, and there's this eyeless clown with bleeding eye sockets, this kind of mask of this mannequin, and it keeps on just appearing around this house, and they keep on finding it, and it's just sort of stood there in the bottom of the stairs and things like that. It's just, it's really well done. It's nothing new, it's been done a million times before, and probably done better in sometimes, but it works well. So I think if you're a fan of found footage, or you haven't had your fix for it and you don't mind that kind of genre, then you can certainly do worse. It kind of gave me the chills a few times, and I thought it was well done. And there is a sequel which I haven't caught up with yet, but
I think I'm going to try to watch that this week. It sounds pretty good.
It does sound good, I think.
Yeah. Well, let's see what you think. I mean, it's, again, you've seen it a million times before, but because I haven't, I've taken a break from found footage, because say there is a million found footage movies, low budget found footage movies on Amazon Prime, and so I think I've just passed this by. I thought, I can't be asked. It's just more of the same. But I think this is put together with some skill, and it kind of it brings some proper tension and scares out of quite a kind of threadbare, thread-worn sort of genre. So definitely worth a watch. Apparently the sequel's not as good, but I might give that a go. So So from something really scary to something not so scary. So now our feature presentation is Shadows Run Black, and I couldn't find a trailer for this, so I'm going to thrill you with some of the amazing acting. So here's a little bit of dialogue from the stunning Shadows Run Black.
Hello? Hello? Who is this?
I'm coming to get you.
Who is this? I don't think this is funny.
I'm coming to get you.
You alright?
Yes, I think so. Except for the nightmares I'll have.
Poor baby. Damn, you're lucky. Could have been you in that pool. You know, I just don't understand your brother. Doesn't he know there's a nut out there? I mean, the guy's already killed 3 girls.
I guess he doesn't think it could happen to me.
Did you call me last night?
No, why?
I had the strangest phone call. Heavy breathing.
And then this voice.
Must have been some phone pervert.
That's what I thought. My first obscene phone call.
We better go before my brother gets back.
A detective investigates a series of killings committed by a serial killer known as the Black Angel. He begins to suspect it might not be just a random group of murders. So there's the very economic synopsis from IMDb, and hopefully that audio clip gave you some idea of the stellar acting that attracted me first to Shadows Run Black. And I think I reviewed this a long time ago on Hysteria Lives, It's funny. I was trying to remember. I was thinking, what can I choose as something? And I thought, well, actually, Shadows Run Black. I thought it'd be quite a fun one to do because I remember the lead, the thespianly challenged Judy, always made me laugh, and I thought there was some bizarre set pieces in it, and I thought it'd be fun. And in fact, actually, the film is fucking dreadful. It is an awful movie, but I find it weirdly entertaining, and I can't take my eyes off it. So in some ways, even though it's not a good movie by any stretch, it's an awful movie, but it's an entertaining one. There's lots of flaws to it. I mean, but I find Judy is she out Dana Kimmel in Friday the 13th Part 3 as when it comes to shoddy acting. I think she's, it's almost, I'm almost tempted to think that actually the woman played Judy is a classically trained actress, and this is some amazing comic turn by her. But yeah, it's just a joy to behold for anyone who kind of enjoys a bad turn. And the film is bizarre. I mean, it's kind of set up. It's almost like a porno. Basically, it's kind of you've got this killer who's going out, termed the Black Angel, who is supposedly bumping off these college friends who never actually meet. So all you get is every 10 minutes there's a new scene of usually a woman taking her top off and quite often taking her pants off as well, strutting around and then being bumped off. So you've got this kind of almost, it's kind of almost like a set to a timer. It's like every 10 or 15 minutes the same thing happens. But then you've got all these bizarre touches, like you've got like a topless dancer who's living with an overweight lesbian and scares her with a monkey mask. Just kind of bizarre things in it. You've got Judy clip-clopping away from the killer in high heels. You've got Judy going to bed in full makeup. Just kind of weird turns, and then of course you've got Kevin Costner as well, turning up as Jimmy, who is a kind of bit of a hoodlum who doesn't really have much to do in the movie at all. Although of course he got top billing when it was finally released by Troma. I think it's Troma 5 years after it was originally filmed. But yeah, it's kind of, for me, it's sometimes when I've watched some films, like, I won't name names like Terror 10 Killer or, films like that, but where I kind of, literally I'm sort of sitting there and I can hear the clock ticking and I'm sort of like fighting the urge to look at my phone. And I just find Shadows Run Black weirdly compulsive for some reason. And I don't know why. I think it may just be peculiar to me. So I'd be interested to hearing what you guys think of it. And considering Joseph said he had to imbibe some substance to watch it, what did you think of Shadows Run Black, Joseph?
Well, there's a scene in the very beginning where the couple's getting frisky in the backseat of a car, and I laughed because she takes her breasts out and he goes to, I guess, fondle her breast, and he doesn't so much as fondle her breast as he starts basically flicking her nipple. And so I thought, if it does this stuff through the whole movie, I'm in for a great little bad movie here, but. I don't know. My reaction this time was a lot like the first time I saw Shadows Run Black, which was not very pleasant. But like I said, at least this time I was kind of aided by a healthy dosage of something, and I guess I harbored no overall violent tendencies toward the film or anything. It's just a bland movie. I mean, the film runs nearly 10 minutes before there's even the tiniest shred of danger. I mean, once we actually get to the first set of murders, I mean, they're pretty underwhelming. And, the first one is off screen. I mean, if you're going to, introduce murders, you need to kind of hook people. And off screen murders just doesn't really cut it. And things go on like that for a while. There's a nearly 7 or 8 minute magic show, which I didn't like in, something like Terror Train. And that movie, at least had the courtesy of being good. I guess to be fair, though, there's a few effective shots here and there, and I guess maybe a modicum of kind of a creep factor with the killer's phone calls, and I can sort of see where they were going with some of the subversive at the time kind of character drama, like the interracial relationship that I think hogs up a lot of the running time. But I'm not here for that kind of stuff. I'm here for kind of a no frills slasher movie fun. And I honestly, there's nowhere near enough of that in Shadows Run Black to save it. I mean, the film is essentially just, for me, it was just way too boring and just flat, so terminally flat. Although I did love Rydell King's, his inconsistent toupee, and you got to love Kevin Costner's Dark Road to Fame, though, playing Jimmy here. I don't know. I was just so bored, and I was inebriated, and if I'm bored when I'm inebriated, then something's wrong. So, unfortunately, thumbs down for Shadows Run Black for me.
Okay, well, I know I do prepare to be alone, although I do imagine somebody might enjoy it, although that person may not be Erik.
Is it me or
it is you, Erik? Sorry.
Okay, sorry. Okay, well, I've only seen this once before, and it was about 10 years ago. And my memory is playing tricks on me because I had in my head that Shadows Run Black was a modestly budgeted movie along the lines of Night School or something like Eyes of a Stranger. I think it was maybe the Kevin Costner thing had thrown me because I'd remembered it being a polished production. How wrong I was, because the film is quite Nathan-y, if that's a word. It's not extreme Nathan. It's not Terror 10 Killer, as he said, but it's not exactly Halloween either. As Joseph was saying, we get sort of 11 minutes into the movie before the prologue is over. And this really does overdo the superfluous characters that are, they're commonplace in slasher movies, but here it's ridiculous. The film will introduce new characters 10 minutes from the end and kill them off within 2 or 3 minutes of them being on screen. And this happens throughout the movie. I did love the magic show. That was a standout moment for me because it's like something from Skullduggery, I thought. It was just this guy playing a cello while this other guy does some magic trick with a golden sphere that runs up and down a handkerchief for a bit. And it's not terribly spectacular, but it's just so bloody weird that it really stood out for me. And I was really entertained by it, just by the oddness of it. I mean, it felt like it was beamed in from a different movie. The Kevin Costner thing, again, I had remembered him as being the star of this film. So I was kind of shocked to see that he's only in it for about 2 or 3 minutes. I like that scene where he's being interrogated by the policeman and he has to try and work out what time he left the party at, and it goes on for what felt like 10 minutes. I'm sure it's only about a minute, but it felt like 10 minutes of him going, I left at 8:10. No, wait, it was 8:15. No, maybe 8:30. No, it was 8:10. And that goes on forever and ever. And it's the 29-minute mark, actually, before we meet Judy, our final girl, which is quite long, a long time to wait for your main character to arrive on screen. I like the insane priest that shows up late in the movie to make a false confession that he's the killer. We get a climactic scene of a mannequin falling off a roof, which reminded me very much of all our favorite giallos from the 1970s. As you said, it's an awful film, but like yourself, Justin, I found a lot to enjoy in it. I found it quite watchable. I mean, of the two films I had to watch in the last week, this is the one I preferred by quite some distance, and that's saying a lot. I suppose the acid test is, if this came out in a special edition from Scream Factory or Arrow or 88, would I purchase it? Probably not, but I did not hate sitting through its 91 minutes or whatever duration it is. A middling film for me, not a classic, but odd enough to be watchable.
Okay, well, thank you, Nathan. Did you appreciate Judy?
Yes, I really like Shadows Run Black.
I thought you might.
Yeah, the only downside for me is that it relies a little heavy on the police investigation side, which is normally not what I find entertaining. But there's so much bad acting and hilarious one-liners. I mean, you were mentioning earlier the blonde woman who lives with her overweight friend, and she scares her with that gorilla mask, and the overweight friend's like, what are you doing? And she's like, well, I'm trying to scare your fat ass off the couch to get a job. I'm like, and that's your friend? I mean, it's pretty rude, but I find it's Judy, to me, helps carry the film with her acting chops, I must say, especially towards the end when she's saying, you killed the wrong guy. She just says it with so little emotion as to what has supposedly just happened right in front of her. I don't know. I just I think it's quite of something amazing to behold. I also thought that gorilla mask was scary too. I think the killer should have wore it throughout the movie. Can you imagine if the killer would have worn? Well, then I guess the title "Shadows Run Black" might not have made as much sense, because I think the title is about the killer being in the shadows.
Well, I always thought, because before I saw it, Shadows Run Black does sound like a giallo or some kind of really scary movie, doesn't it? But this isn't that.
And Justin, in your review, you said the couple at the beginning were really annoying.
Well, I thought it made me laugh. I've written down that it was kind of bizarre. Like they were courting in the thing, and they had like really, really loud bird sounds on the soundtrack, chirping, and like 1930s kind of library music. It's just very strange.
I love when you mentioned in your review when they're interviewing Lee about the death of her friend, and she just nonchalantly says, "Yeah, it's been real sad." Like, it's just funny because it's like you wouldn't really guess that these people were close friends or anything. It almost, their reactions to their friends dying seems more like they just knew of the person, not that they were close friends with them. Yeah. I think the movie goes along pretty well, and I kind of get why they do the detective subplot, especially at the end when we reveal who the killer is. It makes a lot more sense at that point in time, I should say. So, I mean, overall, no, I think Shadows Run Black is it's hard pressed for me to say a fun movie, because I can't admit it drags somewhat. I mean, there's scenes where I'm thinking, okay, we should speed this up a little bit more. And it wouldn't have hurt if it had maybe had a few more kills in it. But overall, it's definitely worth watching, I'd say. I'd watch it again.
So it's Scream Factory and Arrow, are you listening? We want a super duper.
We will do a commentary.
We will do a commentary, yes.
Oh, hang on.
Well, to spoil it is that the killer turns out to be Detective Rydell, isn't it? William J. Kurzel, who is the detective who's investigating.
To you.
Sorry?
Is he any relation to you?
No, thankfully not. But he kind of looks to me. I looked up his filmography, and he just did just a number of exploitation movies around this time, not like this type of movie. But he kind of reminds me of somebody who would have been like a 1950s, actor or something, like a Tab Hunter, who's kind of made like Tab Hunter made Sweet Kill, and Polyester and films like that. But he kind of looked like somebody who's kind of left over from the 1950s, who'd been knocking around, playing heavies in sort of 1950s kind of sort of cop shows or something like that. But he didn't appear to be have done any of that. So, but. I didn't really understand his motivation. Presumably, I still didn't quite understand. Was it because his daughter had been killed or taken drugs and overdosed or something? Is that right? And then all these girls were in her class?
I mean, it was tough for me to figure out what the motive was, too.
Yeah.
Because by the end, he's just going off the bed saying a bunch of crazy stuff.
Well, that's what I can imagine. Because also I thought it's particularly, given, I can guess the excuse is, given, I was going to say, really bad police work, that all these girls from the same class or university being bumped off, that none of them being warned that they're potential targets. But then, of course, if the detective who is investigating it is the killer, then maybe that explains why he isn't doing the best to protect them. I don't know. But
yes, I think that makes up for his shoddy police work.
Yes. It's just kind of
he's such an unlikable little asshole. He's like he's got short man syndrome big time.
Well, he's quite officious, isn't he?
It's like, who else could be the killer?
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of because it has got that, and it reminded me a bit of the Toolbox Murders as well, the 1978 one, where they, you just get these scenes where you get these women being bumped off, and the only thing that links them is the fact they live in the same apartment building. So for me, it shouldn't work. It's not a film that I can watch very often, but I think Judy for me carries it because she is. Yeah, she is a joy to behold. Her performance it just brightens my day. I love it when
you're happy.
Well, I love it because they obviously borrowed the whole phone call thing from Prom Night, didn't they? And it's supposed to be like the killer's doing all day, Judy, like this kind of thing, and she's going, "What? No, leave me alone." Like this kind of, she's kind of, but like in a really monotone way. It's just, I just love it. It's just kind of, I could listen to that on a loop.
I love your impression of her, Justin.
So, but and I loved her boyfriend as well. The I think the actor was Julius Matoya as Billy with his handlebar moustache, and he was both of them together are just like bad movie gold, hilarious, but. Yeah, it's not a great film by any stretch, and you can see why it's sat on the shelf. And you think, actually, I just do wonder whether or not if Kevin Costner hadn't exploded, not literally, obviously, but he hadn't become, he hadn't sort of,
you don't hear.
Yeah, sort of, he hadn't become a sort of, a box office star, would this film ever have been released? Or would it still be sat on the shelf somewhere? Because clearly the only reason it ever saw the light of day was Kevin Costner. In 1986 with Sizzle Beach USA, wherever it was that they put out to sort of to make a buck off him. So it's it's always slightly tantalising to me to think, are there other bad early 80s slasher movies that were made in the glut of the early 80s slasher boom that never got released? Are there some out there? Maybe there are, probably not, but you never know. So I mean. Anything else to say on Shadows Run Black before we look at some background?
No.
It's a black turd.
It is not. And silhouettes run gray.
Yes.
That's part 2. That would have been the sequel.
That would have been a sequel, yes. So, background. Nathan, what have you dug up for us?
Okay, I actually have something this time, and it's not that Kevin Costner's in this movie. That was going to be mine, but I'll let one of you do that. So years ago, there was a video store called Eton Video, and I rented a movie called A Blade in the Dark, and it was on the Lightning Video label, I believe, or maybe Vestron. I can't remember. But on the back of the box, there is a scene of a woman walking down this darkened pathway, and it's not in A Blade in the Dark. And I kept thinking, why is it not in the movie? What movie is this from? And watching Shadows Run Black, I saw the scene. So that is from Shadows Run Black, people. If you're ever looking at the back of the artwork for the VHS art for A Blade in the Dark, it's
work.
What?
Yes.
That was shoddy work by Lightning Video.
Well, I was saying...
Yes, they put the wrong picture on the back.
Yeah, they used to do that all the time, though, didn't they? Although it's funny to think that they were like Lamberto Bava's, very nicely composed movie, and they chose to try and sell it with a scene from Shadows Run Black.
It's a good image, though.
Yeah.
It's a creepy image.
Yeah.
But you just don't know what movie it's associated with.
But they used to do that all the time, didn't they? I used to have loads of VHS, videos where they would like have scenes that weren't in the movie on the back of video boxes.
They did it with Sorority House Massacre Part 2.
Yep. Speaking of video boxes, I love the DVD release of Shadows Run Black. It's got Kevin Costner holding a gun and a naked woman in the window.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it fooled Erik, didn't it?
It did fool me.
So, well, Nathan, have you got anything else?
No, that was the big thing that I had.
Okay. Yes, back to the wood. So, Joseph, anything else? No, not anything else. Have you got anything for us?
No.
Okay, well, Erik, surely you must have something.
Oh my God, Joseph and Nathan, you were supposed to bail me out because I've got neither, and I thought you would have some at least, and it wouldn't make it...
I did!
What?
I did have something.
Nathan. Sorry, Justin, I have nothing.
Oh my goodness! Oh well, I suppose I have to do it all myself. So,
Little Red...
Pardon?
The Little Red Hen.
Yes. So, well, we've already discussed this was filmed in 1981 and sat on the shelf until it was finally released on video in 1986 because Kevin Costner name was associated with it. It was probably, I think, Sizzle Beach USA was the one that, remember, was it being in the papers and being, the Sun, because I don't know if he had a nude scene in that, but I think there's probably more nudity. Well, there's quite a lot of nudity in this. Anyway, he was... it was released by Troma, wasn't it? I think, to much to his embarrassment, I imagine. So when you look it up online, it says everywhere 1984 or 1986, but there's lots of references to 1981, and certainly the fashions, if you can call them that, would definitely point to 1981. Director Howard Hurd only made this movie, but he's still a successful editor. The story is by someone called Craig Kasuba, who didn't do anything else apart from did a play called A Dash of Panache, which I'm sure must be wonderful as well. Sure it would star the wonderful Judy. And talking of Judy, Elizabeth Trosper, I did a quick search around Facebook and I did find an Elizabeth Trosper who looks a bit like Judy 30 years later with some maintenance. And is an advisor on luxury handbags today. So I don't know if that's the same one, but if it is, good on you, Judy. What else? Julius Matoya, there's Billy, who is the associate producer on this, but he's also the gaffer. What do gaffers do? Do you know what a gaffer does?
The gaffer is involved with the lighting setup.
Okay. Well, he was the gaffer also on Pumpkinhead 2, Blood Wings, which I think has got Linnea Quigley in it. And he was the director of photography on all 112 episodes of Moesha. So there you go. This was a Messer Films production who made a mess of it and didn't do anything else. It was probably shot the same time as Malibu Hot Summer in 1981 because it shares several of the same cast and crew. And I think the only other thing I've got was that the baby you see, the shot of the baby was the producer's son. So I'm sure he looks back at his screen debut with fondness. So that is, I think, all I've got on the making of Shadows Run Black, a film that probably wouldn't have seen the light of day if it hadn't been from Kevin Costner thing. So we all have to start somewhere. So yeah, Shadows Run Black, Screen Factory Arrow, or 88 Films. You know what to do. So. Is it time? Well, shall we hear, actually, before we get to, shall we hear what people have said about Shadows Run Black? So do you have the feedback there, Joseph?
Yes, I do.
Okay, take it away.
Over on Facebook, Robert Long says, love it. Shane Lambert says, never seen it, should be interesting, I hope. Jenny Hall Cameron says, don't remember anything about it. No, it's an early Costner. Maybe it's because I don't like him that I don't remember anything about it. David Ladd says, this is one that I hadn't seen until recently. Its bad reputation kept me away, but I was surprised by how much I enjoyed it. The film is far from perfect due to some bad acting and pacing issues, but if you're looking for a sleazy slasher film, you could do a lot worse. Amanda Reyes says, let me be the odd woman out on Shadows. It's flawed and slow, but it's incredibly subversive. It's been some time since I've seen it, but I remember the interracial couple, and there was also a maybe lesbian couple and another couple where the woman worked and the man was home working out, being pretty, in quotations. The subtext is really, really amazing. It's too bad it's in a film that didn't have good pacing and, if memory serves, not a great lead actress either. I do think you can see an early glimmer of how talented Costner is as well, and I'm going to disagree with her, and I never thought Kevin Costner was talented. But anyway, again, doing this on memory, but I thought he was fun. Overall, I think it's a worthwhile film, but mostly if you are up for deep diving. It's not one you can sit back and have fun with, but I do like it. Chad Hemsley says, watched it recently. Maybe I need to give it another go because I thought it was bloody shocking and not in a good way. Gary Yoon says, I've always avoided this simply because it's a trauma release whose films are invariably awful. Am I wrong about this one? No, you're not. David Assassino says, Kevin Costner's most fashionable role. Tristan Comer says, God, I haven't seen this one in ages. I don't remember much, but I did kind of like the finale. Michael Meep Ferrari says, I'm also a big fan of his work in Ron Howard's Night Shift as frat guy at the morgue party. And we got an email about Shadows Run Black. Specifically, it says, just watched this one for the first time. Fortunately, it was on Amazon Prime, albeit in a suitably crappy stream with low picture quality and out-of-sync audio. First of all, I couldn't believe the movie's date was down as 1984. To me, the whole thing felt far more like it came from the mid-'70s, right down to the wah-wah background music, funky mustaches, and the presence of more bush than all of Western Australia combined. Wow. Overall, I felt it was just okay. The pacing was sluggish in many places, and slasher movies done from the point of view of a police investigation are never as interesting to me as those done from the point of view of potential victims. However, there are a few decent kills in amongst other lackluster ones. Like many others, I'm not a huge fan of trauma releases. I can enjoy low-budget, unprofessional films as much as the next slasher fan. Can anyone say No Gun Massacre? But I think the difference is that with trauma, I always feel like the incompetence isn't down to a lack of budget or skill, more just a disregard for attempting to produce any sort of quality product. With that said, I do agree with Amanda Reyes' thoughts that the movie is somewhat subversive, with both interracial and lesbian couples on screen without either being there for titillation. Stop sniggering, Eric. Yes, I said tit. The fact that the killer, spoiler alert, turns out to be the face of white authority is certainly a plus. I also love the fact that the cover has Kevin Costner holding a gun, which looks like a still from a completely different film. That's from Simon Logan. That's Simon Logan.
Well, thank you, Simon. I do think
yes.
I do. It was the only thing because I always thought that about Troma because I'm not a massive Troma fan, but I think it's a lot of these, they picked up these films a bit like Girls School Screamers, didn't they? Which isn't a Troma production, I don't think. So these are some of the films they picked up, which weren't Troma productions. That kind of
Slaughter High as well.
Yeah,
and Rabid Grannies.
Yes. So I mean, they obviously have an eye for the crap, but I would say that to be honest, I'd rather Shadows Run Black over most Troma films, if I'm honest.
I like Troma. But
I don't mind. I mean, it's just kind of
sometimes they're a little gross. Like the movies can be a little gross.
I just kind of I know they've got their fans. I'm just not it's I don't know. It's I haven't sought out any Troma movies since the 80s really. So Toxic Avenger I quite enjoyed. Class of Newcomb High. But I think it's, certainly later ones like Sergeant Kabuki or whatever it was, I wasn't...
Kabuki Man.
Things like that I just haven't watched. But it just wasn't not my sense of humour, I kind of guess. Don't know.
That's because you've not been smoking enough herb.
Very probably, yes. I need vodka-infused horror movies.
Okay.
Which sadly...
They'll come with their own bottle of vodka.
Yeah. So, well, thank you for everyone who wrote in.
Not quite done yet.
Okay.
On Instagram, Chad Keith Helsinki says, "Oh no, ha 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 ha." Fog of Death 81 says, "I haven't seen this in forever, but my memory is that it's one of those cases where the VHS cover outshines the movie within." And finally, Lou Toad says, "Surprisingly enjoyable. I did it as a double feature with Sizzle Beach USA."
Fantastic. Well, thank you. I say I think what we can take away from that is you watch in the right frame of mind, you'll enjoy it. But it's not a good movie. But sometimes we all need something a little bad in our lives, don't we, Nathan?
Absolutely.
So, okay. Well, is that time for you know what? I think it might be.
Yeah. It's my joke of the week. It's so fantastic.
I've actually got 2 jokes of the week.
Ooh.
Well, one of them might be a bit too UK centric that the guys mightn't get it, so I have a second backup one.
Okay.
How did the man discover that there were hidden satanic messages in his Cliff Richard record collection? He made the shadows run backwards.
Oh dear. Oh.
That must be the UK one because I don't get it.
I like it.
Okay, here's my backup one. Hang on a second, I can't hear you now because my monitor's gone off. Okay, I'm back again. Okay, here's my backup one. I need to get the script up. Here we go. Why was there no money for good special effects in this movie? Because Kevin cost nearly all the budget.
That one's much better.
I like both of them.
Admittedly, if I'd have understood the first one, I might have liked it.
Well,
I don't know who Keith Richards
You've never
is.
heard of the whole. You never heard of the whole playing records backwards to get hidden messages.
Well, what does that have to do with Keith Richards?
It's not Keith Richards. It's Cliff Richards.
He's a musician. He's in the Rolling Stones.
Backing band was the Shadows.
You're getting Cliff and Keith mixed up.
Okay.
Yeah, Cliff Richard was.
So
he was
not Keith. It's Clifford. It's somebody named Clifford.
Well, Cliff. He was.
And he was in a band called the Shadows.
Yes.
Backing band.
His backing band.
For instance, Nathan, if you play "Maybe I'm Amazed" backwards, you'll get a really ripping recipe for a lentil soup.
Well, I can tell you a Cliff Richard story, but I can't tell you on air.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Can you tell us off air?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Does it involve your hand on his hand in your body?
No, it's nothing like that. Well, you'll see. Yeah, he's well, we won't go there anyway. I'll tell you off air. So, so we have some more feedback, don't we?
Yeah, I got one.
Okay. Well, Nathan, do you want to take it away?
All right. This says, "Hey guys, It's been years since I've written in. I wanted to let you know that I saw Halloween last night at its world premiere at the Toronto International Film Festival.
Ooh.
Without spoiling anything, I'll say that it's one of the best-looking horror films I've seen in years, with some masterfully shot set pieces and a third act that I'm still buzzing over. Though I am cautious of my own immediate post-festival screening overhype, I liked it a lot. But it's not without a few problematic story choices. That said, the characterization of Laurie is inspired, the music cues revival the original, and the Shape's portrayal is as iconic as ever. It's obvious that everyone behind the film is a fan of the franchise, and this Halloween flick is a worthy sequel to a classic. Love the podcast. Chris in Toronto. And for Justin, he is Dr_Jigs on PS4.
Oh, hello,
So there you go.
Dr_Jigs. I haven't been on PS4 for a while, so...
You haven't been playing Friday the 13th?
I haven't for a little while. No, I need to get back into it because I've been in Australia, so obviously I haven't.
I still want to play it. I can't justify buying a system just for that one game.
We could get other games.
Yeah, but I'm not much of a game player. I only want
You
that
can
'cause
also
it's
use it to
slasher.
stream stuff as well.
And play Blu-rays.
But I guess my problem is I already have a Blu-ray player and a Roku.
Well,
them can't help you, I'm afraid.
no,
And I'm
sorry.
cheap.
Yeah. So, well, thank you, Dr. Jigs. That's well, I'm glad we're all looking forward to seeing Halloween, and hopefully I will see it in English, and hopefully it all because in cinemas here they say Hellfest is out. The cinema started on Friday, so this weekend, and it's at cinemas now, but it's in Spanish, so it's been dubbed, and they all dubbed. But they do a version original sometimes for some films, and actually the Predator was they had one night in English with Spanish subtitles. So hopefully Halloween. Otherwise, I'll have to go and see Halloween in Spanish, and that'll just be it.
Will you be able to watch it in Spanish? Do you know any Spanish? I know you know some.
Yeah, I can speak a bit of Spanish. I mean, I can watch it in Spanish. And also, to be honest, it's probably, it's not exactly going to be that difficult to follow, is it?
Well, if you could speak Spanish, ¿cómo está?
Or como está, yeah. But I don't. My Spanish isn't that great. I can order 2 beers and ask.
I wouldn't mind seeing a movie in Spanish if I had to, but it was something like Halloween where you want to absorb Jamie Lee Curtis's performance.
That's why I'm
you
thinking.
really want to see it.
Yeah,
but you know what though? I watched Blotterin in its native language, and it didn't really. I don't feel like I missed much.
Is that because it wasn't a very good movie, or?
No, I thought it was fun, but it's just a slasher movie. Have you seen it, Justin?
Yeah.
I think I have seen bits of it.
I know Joseph's seen it.
Is it Swedish or is it Norwegian?
Yeah, it's
Swedish.
the Swedish all-girl rock band from the late 80s that get killed by somebody called the Bleeder. Yes,
I know it well. So, well, we need... I actually thought what would be really good, I don't know why they don't do this, but you probably could, these days you can get like a translation device on your phone, can't you? So if you're watching something in a different language, that it should be able to auto translate it for you. But having said that, whenever I see auto translates for things on Google, they're always completely wrong anyway. So
yeah, on YouTube.
Yeah. So okay, well, who else has got? I've got one as well, but
I've got one here that ties into what you're just talking about there because it's about Swedish movies.
Okay.
This is from Peter Walston. And he says, "Hi guys, I've been following your podcast and audio commentaries for a couple of years with great joy, and I am now a Patreon member. When I listened to the Blood Tracks episode, I wish that I could have helped out with some background information since I am of Swedish descent, but currently living in David Cronenberg land in Toronto in Canada. Don't hesitate to contact me if you plan to cover another Scandinavian flick, and I will gladly assist you. So, Nathan, if you want to cover that one you mentioned, that I can't remember.
Blotterin?
That's it.
Oh, that would be sweet.
We can ask Peter for some assistance. He says, I also want to recommend a great book about Swedish exploitation cinema called Swedish Sensations Films, A Clandestine History of Sex, Thrillers and Kicker Cinema by Daniel Ekeroth, and he sends us the Amazon link to that. He also says maybe the infamous thriller A Cruel Picture from 1973 could be a Patreon pick in the future. All the best, Peter Walston.
Well,
so what do we think about Thriller as a future Patreon pick? Have we all seen it?
I saw it years ago, and I don't remember.
Isn't that a Michael Jackson video?
It's a Michael Jackson video.
I'm trying to remember what movie it is.
What is it?
They call her One Eye.
Yeah, they call her One Eye.
Yeah, it's the one that was Quentin Tarantino's kind of one of his favorite movies. It's what's her name? The woman. It's not Alicia something. I can't remember, but Linda something Berg. I can't remember. But anyway, she's it's a kind of rape revenge movie, isn't it? So
lots of motion rifle action in it.
Yes,
and lots of porn inserts.
Yeah, which aren't very sexy. I seem to remember.
Oh no, not at all.
So, okay, well, thank you, Peter. That was, if we do ever get around to it, I'm trying to think what other Swedish slashers there have been, apart from Bluraden and Blood Tracks. I'm sure there must have been some.
What was the one where they go up into the snowy wilderness and there's 3 parts in it? Is that Norwegian?
That's that's Norwegian.
What was it called again?
Blood, oh God, what's it called? A Cold Prey. The Cold Prey movies.
Prey.
Yeah.
I don't think that was Swedish, was it?
No, that's Norwegian.
No, just Norwegian. Yeah.
What about Reykjavik Whale Watching Massacre? Was that was Scandinavian?
That's Iceland.
That's Iceland.
Iceland. Okay. Sorry.
So we're offending all our Scandinavian listeners.
Hey, I'm terrible with geography. Sue me.
Right. Okay. Well, thank you. Shall I go with my one? Yep. Okay. Well, I've got greeting Podfathers, Jay here. Hope all is well with you, gents. Just got through listening to number 170 in brackets. Oh my God, will we ever get that far on our show? ? We can only hope. Enjoyed it so much. Someone brought up Night of Horror, and it made me think of another early proto slasher. Have any of you ever seen Night of Bloody Horror? It came out in 1969 and starred a very young and extremely skinny Gerard McGrany. Bad acting, even worse effects, fun stuff. I love when I come across an old gem like this. Yes, Erik, I said come across. Who's seen Night of Bloody Horror?
Me.
I have. It's something.
I loved it. He's really right in what he's saying about it. And one thing that I love about it is it's a whodunit, but it is one of the most obvious twists I've ever seen. Erik, I think you would get this one correct if we ever watch it. I think you would get it correct very, very early on.
I had to Google who Gerald McCraney was. I wasn't familiar with him.
He's Major Dad.
Yes, I know. Looking at the picture here, I recognize him.
And The Promised Land as well.
Was he in Simon and Simon? Am I mistaken?
I think he might. God, I don't remember. I don't think he was. I think, wasn't it Joe Penny? I can't remember. I don't know. Been years.
Cool. Well, I don't think I've seen it, but where does he go? He carries on by saying, Fantastic Fest is going on right now here in Austin, and I'm seeing some amazing movies. While I was there last night, I stopped by the Vinegar Syndrome booth and bought some Blu-rays. When I got home and looked at them, I got a wonderful surprise. Your commentary tracks on Madman and Blood Theatre. I can't wait to start listening. I said it before, and I'll say it again. Listening to your commentaries is like watching the movies with some really good friends who like the same crazy shit as me. In closing, I just want to make a request again. Please cover the movie Blood and Black Lace. No, Erik, you haven't done that one yet. It's one of my favourite movies ever, and I'd love to hear your all's thoughts on this one. Wishing you all the joys and scary stuff the fall season brings, your humble fan, Jay Bullington, co-host of the Have You Seen This One podcast. And the website is haveyouseenthis1all.com. So we'll have to take a listen to that, Jay, and thank you for writing in. Yep. So awesome. Hopefully, and say we've got a few other commentaries lined up, which we can't talk about at the moment. We just recorded one, actually, as Erik said earlier, which we can't tell you what it is yet, but we've got at least another one lined up fairly soon this month, haven't we? For both of them are, I would say, broadly 80 slashers.
Yes.
Yes.
So hopefully we can go live with those soon and tell you what they are. But Blood and Black Lace, I think we will have to get around to that eventually, and I think it probably will be.
I think it needs to be a special one by now, like an anniversary episode.
Exactly, that's what I was thinking. When is our anniversary? Joseph will know. January. Well, there you go. How about the anniversary? The 8th anniversary will be. My goodness, would be Blood and Black Lace. Well, let's pencil that in.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
We were also talking about at one point remaking Happy Birthday to Me.
Oh yes, that's true. Doing yeah. Well, we'll get round to both of them eventually, but I think we need to do Blood and Black Lace at some point soon, and we haven't done any Jali for a little while. So, what other things can I say? One thing I will do, a little shameless plug. The second revised and updated edition of my book, which has been rechristened the Teenage Slasher Movie Book, is out on October the 9th, or I think. And some people apparently have already got their copies. So, so if you didn't get a chance to get a copy, then it's a good chance to get one now, because I know it's going for silly money on Amazon, and it's updated with 8 new pages bringing it to bang up to date with the new Halloween film. So if you want to pick that up, I will love you long time. So what else? Is there anything else we want to discuss? So you got another bit of feedback? Oh, sorry, I didn't realise. Okay.
Yeah. Do you have any, Joseph?
No, I'm out.
Okay, I'll read this one then. This is from Alex Borenstein. And Alex says, "What's up, my dudes? I've been meaning to write to y'all for a long time. I don't know if I could have survived my temporary nightmare of being a file clerk without the sweet sounds of your voices filling my ears. I have no actual feedback because you're all perfect. But anyway, being from Wisconsin, as well as being a horror fan, I have a strong interest in horror movies made here. As a kid, I would go up north with my family to Hayward for a week every summer, not realizing until much later that the fantastic Bloodhook was shot there. You jealous, Nathan? When I stumbled upon that fact, I nearly pooped my pants. That movie.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, well, that's what he says. He says that movie is amazing and no one will change.
You think it's amazing that he nearly pooped his pants?
The movie is amazing.
What did you all think of the equally amazing Blu-ray of Bloodhook from earlier this year, especially considering it's the full director's cut? Well, I wouldn't know because I didn't buy it. Nathan, do you have the Bloodhook Blu-ray?
I don't, but it's not because I don't want it. It's because I'm poor. Okay. But if I come into money, I do intend to buy it along with some other ones that I've been wanting to watch.
He said come into money.
I know, I was thinking that wouldn't win.
Y'all were so dirty.
I know. Alex also says, other Wisconsin horror movies I'm wondering if you've seen are Blood Beat, shot extremely close to where I live, and Blood Harvest, featuring the joys of Tiny Tim. These 3 movies are what I refer to as the Wisconsin Blood Trilogy. Possible double feature of Blood Beat and Blood Harvest in the future. Wink, wink. That's all for now. Tell Erik to eat an extra chunky Kit Kat for me since I'm trying to cut back. Well, thank you, Alex. And that's from Alex Borenstein. He says, P.S. Shameless plug to the YouTube channel Alex Boffenstein for horror movie fun times and more. And PPS, stop the music debate because we all know that Carolyn Monroe is the best. Warrior of Love is a heckin' bop. I can't disagree with that. Warrior of Love is awesome.
That is true. So, well, thank you. Thank you for everyone's written in. It's been fun to get back into the saddle, as it were. And what are we going to be riding off into sunset for next time? Who? It's your turn, isn't it?
Erik. It'll be Erik.
Yeah.
My pick.
Yeah. What is your pick, Erik? I know you were being bullied by a certain person called Nathan to try and pick a certain movie or two, but
I was not bullied. It was just friendly suggestions.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not going with any of your suggestions, Nathan.
Oh. So what are you going for? What are you going for? What are we going to be covering next time on the podcast?
Okay, Alex suggested it. I'm going to go with Blood Beat.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
We have it already, have we?
I don't. Well, it's 7 years. You can't expect me to remember these things.
Yeah, we covered it on a double bill with Blood and Black Lace.
Shut at you.
Okay, well, Blood Beat it is then. So yeah, well, And also, we're going to be recording your Patreon pick, aren't we, coming up? Can we announce that?
Am I mention what that is?
Yes, I think so.
I think we can.
Yeah.
Amityville 2, The Possession, one of my favorites.
Yeah. So
I like how you're kind of going into these sequels without even covering the first film, like you did The Exorcist 2.
I know.
We're also doing top threes as well. We just did the top three. God, what was it? It was top three.
What the fuck moments?
What the fuck moments? And for Halloween, did we agree on this?
I think we said the top 3 scariest scenes in horror films.
Yes.
Or scariest moments, or just scary general, I guess.
Yeah. So that's going to be our Halloween sort of Patreon.
Okay.
So 2
When it says y'all's turn.
That is terrifying.
Yeah, so 2 extra special things only available to our lovely Patreon supporters, and that is Amityville 2, The Possession, and top 3 scariest moments in horror movies. So that's coming up for October.
Hey, speaking of scary moments, I'd sent, just so you all know, I sent y'all a picture of the VHS artwork of Night of Bloody Horror. Don't be afraid when you look at it, because the tagline says, it's only a picture.
I thought the tagline said, it's a mystery.
Oh my God, Eric, you got to see this image, and now see why Justin said that.
That was funny.
Anyway, enough from us.
How dare you, Justin?
I would like to apologise, but I won't. Well, thank you for listening to Hysteria Continues, and we'll be playing out with.
As ever.
Sorry?
I said we are classy as ever.
Exactly. And we'll be playing out with. I was trying to think of a suitable song, and I thought, well, how about Shadow Time by Susan the Banshee? So I thought, well, it's nicely fitting. So we'll be playing out a little bit of that, and we'll catch you next time. So say goodbye to the good people.
Bye, people.
Bye.